Have you ever wondered what Hollywood looked like before the censors took the scissors to every sultry glance, every forbidden romance, every gasp-inducing scandal? Imagine an age when stars sparkled with more than innocence, villains went unpunished, and the boundaries of sex, violence, and morality were pushed to dizzying heights, all before the infamous Hays Code slammed the gates shut. Tonight, we dive into 15 of the greatest, most audacious pre-code movies ever made. Let's unlock The Divorcee, 1930. In the dawn of the 1930s, before Hollywood studios locked themselves into decades of self-censorship, The Divorcee exploded on the scene as a sophisticated, deeply modern drama about infidelity, double standards, and women's agency. Norma Shearer, the era's model wife turned bold icon, delivers a tour de force as Jerry Martin, who, after discovering her husband's betrayal, refuses to bear her wounds in silence. Instead, she turns the tables, famously betting her husband's best friend in an act of revenge that would have been taboo just a few years later. Shearer's Oscar-winning performance is the heart of the film, but the off-screen intrigue is equally tantalizing. Irving Thalberg, Shearer's husband and MGM's boy wonder, initially envisioned Joan Crawford for the role, until Shearer's daring, seductive photoshoot convinced him she was the only choice. The film's original title, Ex-Wife, was considered so salacious that even the pre-code censors balked. The Divorcee stands today as an early Hollywood marker of shifting gender politics, brimming with witty dialogue, lush Art Deco design, and a story that never punishes its heroine for breaking the rules. It's not just a product of its time, it's a challenge to it. The Sign of the Cross, 1932. When Cecil B. DeMille made The Sign of the Cross, he was already famous for blending biblical spectacle with a keen eye for the scandalous. The result is a riotous, excessive epic that revels in Roman decadence, never shying away from scenes that would give future censors heart palpitations. Claudette Colbert's infamous milk bath as Poppaea remains one of pre-code cinema's most suggestive moments, a scene dripping with luxury and eroticism. Elsewhere, DeMille pushes boundaries with The Dance of the Veiled Moon, where Joyzell Joyner's Ancaria gyrates to the delight of Roman elites. Yet it's not just coition on display. DeMille stages gladiatorial violence with a showman's glee, unleashing Amazonians, wild beasts, and even alligators on hapless martyrs at the Circus Maximus. Despite the uproar, DeMille relished the challenge posed by the Hays office. While he claimed he made no cuts, the 1944 reissue added a heavy-handed prologue comparing Nero's tyranny to that of Hitler, proof that history has always been used to frame present anxieties. The Sign of the Cross is a testament to DeMille's flair for controversy and his genius for making sin look positively spectacular. 3 on a Match, 1932. Mervyn LeRoy's 3 on a Match offers a searing, fast-paced glimpse into urban America's seamier side, told through the intersecting lives of 3 childhood friends. Joan Blondell, Bette Davis, and Anne Dvorak embody 3 different fates for women in the city, but it's Dvorak's downward spiral into addiction and criminality that gives the film its raw power. The stories inciting superstition, the curse of 3 people lighting a cigarette from the same match, ushers in a series of moral and physical calamities that would satisfy even the most jaded noir fans. As Dvorak's character is consumed by vice and falls into the hands of gangsters, including a pre-stardom Humphrey Bogart, the film pulls no punches. Kidnapping, drug use, and adultery all swirl together in a heady cocktail. While the Hays office would eventually clamp down on such frank depictions, 3 on a Match was allowed to slide by, perhaps because the characters face fitting consequences. The film's breakneck pace and gritty authenticity offer a blueprint for later crime dramas and remain a testament to the brief electric window when Hollywood dared to show life unvarnished. Red-Headed Woman, 1932. Red-Headed Woman is pure, unadulterated fun, a film that turns the gold-digging homewrecker into an American folk heroine. Jean Harlow, in all her platinum blonde, devil-may-care glory, is Lil Andrews, a small-town secretary whose sights are set firmly on her married boss and his bank account. F. Scott Fitzgerald tried and failed to adapt Catherine Brush's racy novel, but it was Anita Loos with her signature wit who truly understood Lil's character. Under Loos's pen, Lil is gleefully unapologetic, weaponizing her looks, desirability, and cunning to get exactly what she wants. In a pre-code world, Lil not only seduces and steals, she even shoots her husband and still escapes punishment, sailing to Europe to find fresh marks. Hollywood rarely allowed its bad girls to win, but Red-Headed Woman makes no apologies. The film is as much a satire as it is a celebration, with Harlow's infectious energy making her both a vamp and a comic genius. The casting itself is legend, with rumors swirling about possible leads ranging from Clara Bow to Greta Garbo. But it's Harlow who immortalizes the role, making Lil the ultimate icon of female agency and mischief. Employee's Entrance, 1933. Set in the gleaming, merciless corridors of a New York department store, Employee's Entrance is as hard-edged as pre-code dramas come. Warren William, the undisputed king of the era's cads, plays Kurt Anderson, a ruthless store manager who believes the ends always justify the means, especially when they involve his employees' lives and loves. When Anderson sets his sights on the vulnerable Madeline, played by Loretta Young, the film pulls no punches. The power dynamic is chilling, with Anderson exploiting his authority in ways that remain deeply unsettling today, echoing contemporary conversations about workplace abuse and consent. But Employee's Entrance isn't just about predation, it's a bracing critique of unchecked capitalism and corporate ruthlessness, themes that feel shockingly modern. The script sparkles with cynical, rapid-fire dialogue, and the pacing never lets up. Williams' performance is a masterclass in suave villainy, while Young's Madeline is heartbreaking in her innocence and desperation. Alongside contemporaries like Female in 1933, Employee's Entrance dares to ask who really wins in the battle of the coitus in the marketplace. Its refusal to neatly resolve these questions is precisely why it's endured as a pre-code classic. Murders in the Zoo, 1933. With its lurid plot and ghastly set pieces, Murders in the Zoo stands out as one of the most unsettling pre-code horrors. Lionel Atwill is mesmerizing as Eric Gorman, a big game hunter whose jealousy knows no bounds. Early on, he brutally sews a rival's lips shut, a scene so shocking that even today it sends a shiver down the spine. Paramount's answer to Universal's monster cycle, the film relishes its deco setting and morbid atmosphere, with Gorman's jealousy manifesting not just as human violence, but as a penchant for unleashing wild animals on his enemies. His trophy wife becomes both object and pawn, tormented as much by her husband as by the zoo's predators. The climax, a nightmarish melee of big cats, alligators, and panicked partygoers, remains one of the great frenzies of early horror. Charles Ruggles' attempts at comic relief fall flat, but the rest of the film is tight, suspenseful, and genuinely nasty. Murders in the Zoo is a textbook example of how far Hollywood could push boundaries before the code's iron grip, and a reminder that horror has always been a way to process real-life fears in a safe, if terrifying, environment. And Gabriel over the White House, 1933. Few films better encapsulate the radical, anything-goes energy of early 1930 cinema than Gabriel over the White House. Walter Houston plays President Judson Hammond, who, after a brush with death and a ghostly visitation, emerges as an American strongman ready to crush corruption and lead the nation by decree. Sponsored by press baron William Randolph Hearst, the film straddles the line between earnest New Deal wish fulfillment and a chilling fantasy of totalitarian control. Hammond shuts down Congress, executes criminals without trial, and bullies European leaders into settling war debts, all for the greater good, or so the film would have us believe. MGM boss Louis B. Mayer, himself a Republican, was so disturbed by the proto-fascist overtones that he tried to delay the release. Yet the film struck a chord with Depression-era audiences, desperate for a leader who could cut through red tape. The Hays office objected, but Gabriel over the White House survived with only minimal changes, standing as a rare Hollywood endorsement of autocratic power and a fascinating relic of America's anxieties and aspirations at the height of the Depression. The Story of Temple Drake, 1933. No other pre-code film faced as much controversy as The Story of Temple Drake. Based on William Faulkner's Sanctuary, the film was considered unfilmable by the Hays office, which balked at its subject matter: rape, murder, and the fall from grace of a Southern belle. Miriam Hopkins gives a harrowing, layered performance as Temple, a thrill-seeking socialite who finds herself trapped in a world of violence after a chance encounter at a country roadhouse. What follows is an unflinching descent into a hellish underworld, with Hopkins, both victim and controversially, complicit in her fate. Director Stephen Roberts uses claustrophobic close-ups and off-screen screams to convey horror without explicit violence, making the film all the more disturbing. Even today, its coitus politics and ambiguous morality unsettle viewers, reflecting the era's complicated attitudes toward female desirability and agency. Released at the very end of the pre-code period, The Story of Temple Drake is a milestone in American cinema, a film that dared to look unblinking at society's darkest corners and, in so doing, hastened the coming of the code's censorship. Babyface, 1933. Barbara Stanwyck's Lily Powers, the protagonist of Babyface, may be the most audacious anti-heroine of pre-code Hollywood. Raised in a grimy speakeasy by her abusive, pimping father, Lily learns early to use men as stepping stones, and does she ever, climbing, office by office, to the heights of a New York bank by unapologetically sleeping her way to the top. What sets Babyface apart isn't just its premise, but its brazen execution. The film is structured like a Nietzschean parable. Lily's friend Chico, a black woman, is not just sidekick, but confidant, suggesting a camaraderie across lines of race and class almost never seen in films of the time. Babyface scandalized moralists and censors alike who demanded that Lily be punished. The film's infamous original ending, in which she escaped scot-free, was only changed under pressure. Still, Stanwyck's magnetic performance, the gritty dialogue, and the film's unrepentant attitude toward female desirability have kept it relevant, provocative, and endlessly watchable. A feminist Rorschach test and a dark delight. Wild Boys of the Road, 1933. William A. Wellman's Wild Boys of the Road captures the desperation and resilience of America's youth during the Great Depression. This gritty Steinbeckian odyssey follows Frankie Darro and Edwin Phillips as two teens forced to ride the rails, seeking work and dignity for themselves and their struggling families. The film's episodic narrative is relentless, with each new town bringing fresh dangers, abuse of authorities, predatory adults, and the threat of hunger and homelessness. Wellman doesn't flinch from the hardships, but he's also attentive to the warmth and camaraderie forged in adversity. Unlike many contemporaneous films, Wild Boys of the Road refuses to glamorize poverty or punish its characters for their circumstances. Instead, it indicates a system that fails its most vulnerable. The climactic courtroom scene where a sympathetic judge finally offers a lifeline is moving without being mawkish. A companion to Wellman's equally hard-hitting Heroes for Sale in 1933, this film remains one of the great American social dramas, an essential snapshot of an era, and a moving tribute to the resilience of the human spirit under impossible odds. Scarface, 1932. If one film defined the pre-code gangster era, it's Howard Hawks' incendiary Scarface. With Paul Mooney's explosive performance as Tony Camonte, an unrepentant bullet-spraying mobster, Scarface brought an unprecedented brutality and moral ambiguity to the genre. Hawks and producer Howard Hughes didn't just glorify crime, they dared the audience to root for a villain whose ambition and amorality knew no bounds. The film's violence was so extreme for its time that it faced countless delays and censorship battles, with the infamous X motif foreshadowing each murder, and a final act as bleak as it is iconic. But Scarface is more than a string of shootouts. It's a razor-sharp social commentary, a critique of both gangster culture and the society that creates it. Its eatable undertones, feverish pace, and sardonic wit set the template for every crime film to follow, from The Godfather to Goodfellas. Despite the efforts of censors, Scarface survived mostly intact, standing as both a time capsule and a timeless warning about the allure and cost of power. It's the ultimate pre-code cautionary tale, electrifying, subversive, and essential. Freaks, 1932. Todd Browning's Freaks is the most infamous outlier of pre-code cinema, a film so daring, so unsettling, that it was banned in the UK for over 30 years and remains disturbing today. Browning, who had once worked in a circus, cast real-life sideshow performers, not as objects of ridicule, but as fully realized sympathetic characters. The film's plot, a love triangle that turns into a gruesome revenge tale, serves as a framework for a deeply empathetic exploration of difference and cruelty. Olga Baklanova's trapeze artist, intent on conning and poisoning the diminutive Hans, soon learns that the freaks are far more united and resourceful than she imagined. The climactic scene, where the community of performers exacts their terrifying justice, is one of the most shocking in early cinema. But the real transgression lies in Browning's refusal to exploit his cast. Instead, he indicts the so-called normal people as the true monsters. Freaks was too much for 1932 audiences, who rejected its raw humanity and grotesque spectacle. Today, it stands as a singular achievement, a bold, compassionate, and truly unique work of art. Night Nurse, 1931. Few films encapsulate the daring spirit of the pre-code era like Night Nurse. Barbara Stanwyck stars as a tough-talking nurse who, alongside her wisecracking friend Joan Blondell, uncovers a deadly plot involving two wealthy children and their nefarious chauffeur, played with chilling menace by a young Clark Gable. Wellman's direction is brisk and unsentimental, with a plot that careens from hospital wards to bootlegging dens. The film is packed with sensational elements: murder, alcoholism, child abuse, and even a clandestine romance, all presented with a matter-of-factness that would soon disappear from Hollywood screens. What makes Night Nurse so memorable is Stanwyck's performance. Her character is no shrinking violet. She's resourceful, brave, and unafraid to take matters into her own hands, setting a template for strong women in cinema. The film's refusal to punish her for her outspokenness is pure pre-code, and its critique of the wealthy elite feels pointed even now. Night Nurse is a wild, fast-paced thriller that showcases the electric energy of early 30s Hollywood and Stanwyck's undeniable star power. Trouble in Paradise, 1932. Trouble in Paradise is perhaps the crowning jewel of pre-code romantic comedies. A gossamer confection spun by Ernst Lubitsch, master of continental wit and suggestion. The plot centers on a pair of suave con artists, Herbert Marshall and Miriam Hopkins, who find their biggest scam complicated by love and mutual attraction, especially when Kay Francis's wealthy heiress enters the mix. The film is all sly glances, suggestive dialogue, and champagne bubbles, with Lubitsch trusting the audience to read between the lines. Innuendo abounds, and the character's amorality is never punished. In fact, it's celebrated. Lubitsch's famed touch is everywhere. A door closed just as something illicit happens, a perfectly timed fade, a piece of dialogue that reveals everything by saying nothing at all. The movie's sparkling repartee and lush Art Deco sets evoke a world where pleasure is a virtue and cleverness its own reward. Banned after the code's enforcement, Trouble in Paradise was unavailable for decades, a crime given its enduring brilliance. Today, it stands as the gold standard of sophisticated adult comedy, and proof that romantic escapades can be as sharp as they are sweet. She Done Him Wrong, 1933. Mae West's larger-than-life persona blazes through She Done Him Wrong, a film that encapsulates the raucous body spirit of the pre-code era like no other. As Lady Lou, West is a diamond-draped nightclub singer with a penchant for double entendre and a taste for trouble. Set in the lawless Bowery of the 1890s, the film is a whirlwind of saloon brawls, stolen diamonds, and coitus intrigue. West delivers every line with sly confidence, wrapping even the most suggestive jokes in her trademark wink. Cary Grant, in an early star-making turn, plays the earnest Salvation Army captain caught in her orbit, a straight man to West's comic hurricane. She Done Him Wrong is more than just a showcase for West's charisma. It's a triumph of self-invention. West wrote the script herself, adapting her own hit play, and imbued Lou with a frank desirability that was both subversive and empowering. The film was a box office smash and helped save Paramount from bankruptcy, proving that audiences craved a little naughtiness in hard times. Today, West's unapologetic humor and independence remain revolutionary, making She Done Him Wrong a sparkling finale to any pre-code marathon. So, which of these daring films will you watch first? Drop your favorites in the comments and don't forget to subscribe, because there's always more to uncover when you look beneath the surface of Hollywood's glittering past. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more cinematic adventures.